I have something that it's kind of weird that I'd like to do the work on.
Okay.
I'm just not too sure about how to approach it. It's like the situation is I'm walking with my wife and we're like talking about life in general. And then like the conversation escalated a little bit towards like the future and not knowing what it's going to be like or what are we going to do or how are we going to look like or all this kind of like all the thoughts started like coming in and out like right away, and it was like I just got frustrated with like I guess life, I don't know, for not knowing like what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so the question is how to do the work on this, right? That's like the situation is stressful, but how do you do the work on it? So let's just brainstorm a little bit about the kinds of stressful thoughts going there. And you kind of said one there just at the end. I'm frustrated with life, uh, kind of for um, not knowing or not letting me know what it's going to be. I don't remember the words you said exactly.
That one makes sense for not knowing what's going to happen, or yeah,
Yeah,
I think that kind of like is the point right there.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So now we have to think about how to get that into a format that is easy to work. And it could be like, I don't know what's going to happen. That would be one way to phrase it. Or it could be in terms of a want, like I want, or a need. I need to know what's going to happen, or I want to know what's going to happen. These are all different phrasings of the same basic stressful idea. And so I leave it to you what feels like it would be closest to what you're experiencing there.
Totally, I want to know what's going to happen.
Okay. Perfect.
Rings like a huge bell.
Yeah. So that's just a trick you can always use is looking for the want. Byron Katie sometimes says, no stress without a want. And I find that to be true as well. There's almost always something that I'm wanting or needing sometimes that is making the stress stronger. And so when I'm not quite sure how to phrase the thought, phrase the statement to question, I will sometimes look for that. Like, what's the want? That's what we did just here. So the cool thing is when you do it, sometimes it really resonates, like you just found here.
Great.
Okay, so uh, put yourself in that situation. You're walking with your wife. Your conversation kind of turns towards the future and what it'll look like in the future, and you want to know what's going to happen. And obviously you can't. So is it true that you want to know what's going to happen? That's the question. Is it true?
Yeah.
Okay. And can you absolutely know that you want to know what's going to happen?
Yes. 100%.
Okay. I love an honest man. So, how do you react in that moment when you're talking with your wife and you're thinking about the future and you're not knowing what's going to happen, but you have this feeling or this thought somewhere inside that you want to know what's going to happen? What happens to you? How do you react?
I start feeling frustrated, and I can see how I get overwhelmed by all these different thoughts about everything, like my kids, my life, her life, the house, everything. It's like the city, the world. It starts piling up everything on top of each other, it feels like. And it's like every thought that comes in, it's like adding more white spaces at the end. It's like it just gets bigger and bigger, and it's just I just feel too overwhelmed to the point where I'm like almost frozen in a way,
Mm,
like because I don't know what to do. It's like too many different things and too many unknowns. So it kind of like freezes me up.
absolutely. Yeah. Where do you notice it in your body when you think this thought? I want to know what's going to happen, and you're seeing white spaces at the end of everything.
I feel like tension like in my upper neck and like the back of my head. I can totally see like if somebody put like or if I'm against a wall or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how does it affect you, the way you're talking with your wife as you're walking along and you're thinking, I want to know what's going to happen, and you're not able to know?
It's like I leave my body there in a way. Like I'm still walking with her, but I'm not there anymore. It's just like I'm trying to figure out the puzzle and try to find out what I'm going to do next and how's it going to look like and what decisions we have to make and what the best is going to be. So I get lost in all of that and I can feel how I even forget that I'm walking with her in a way. So it's just like automatic in that area. And then I'm just lost in my thoughts of, yeah, just trying to figure it out.
Yeah. And I don't know if this makes any sense or not, but like, how do you treat life when you're thinking that you want to know what's going to happen and you can't really know that?
Oh my God. I treated it like as unfair. I treat it as like a kid that doesn't want to pay attention and like do what you ask them to do and they just keep doing whatever they want. So it's like it's like I can I can feel how the frustration starts building up and up and up from there. Yeah, I see it as really unfair and like not helping me at all in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you're put into this game and you're not told the rules and you don't know what's going to happen. Like, right? How fair is that? Yeah. Yeah. So, who would you be if you didn't have the thought that you want to know what's going to happen as you're walking with your wife, talking about what the future might look like? Who would you be without this idea that you want to know what's going to happen?
I would be present right away. I see how I start looking at things like I didn't know what was going to happen today, yesterday. Like I had no idea how it was going to turn out to be for the most part. I feel like there's no need to know in a way. Like there's not that willingness to know. Like if they say, "Would you like to know that you're gonna die certain way, certain day at a certain time?" It's would that make life not fun anymore or something? So it'd be like a done deal in a way.
Mm,
Hmm. I can see how I open myself a little bit more to see what's coming up without like the tension to know that I need to know what will happen.
hmm.
I can feel how I let things flow a little bit more. And I'm not just trying to control it, but just, hmm, that makes me feel good right there. Like, not trying to control what's going to happen so I know what to do exactly,
Hmm.
but just be part of it. Like, if I'm inside of a bus or something like that and I'm just going along
Yeah.
rather than trying to drive the bus and like do everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to drive the bus and you're not in the driver's seat.
Right.
That could be pretty frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's like, why do I want to know what's going to happen? And I think you're touching on something interesting here, that it could be partly because I want to control what's going to happen. I want to make sure only good things happen, or I want to somehow be able to avert things. And yeah, so without the thought, there's just that little less trying to control, a little more,
Yeah.
yeah, more
And I can
present.
see that being a lot of me trying to prepare for something so when it comes, I'm ready and I know everything I need to do and like have everything organized so it affects me the less possible because I know what's coming, so it's okay. So it's the unknown. Mm.
Yeah. So going back to the question, who would you be without the thought? I want to know what's going to happen.
Brings me back to that I really don't want to know. Like I can be there and just be present like in every moment rather than trying to figure it out and trying to know every single time what's going to happen.
And part of what this question points to is like, what would your experience be like? Like what would it be like, for example, talking and walking with your wife and thinking about the future if you don't have any thought that you want to know what's going to happen, if you weren't attached to this thought that you want to know what's going to happen.
I can see how it gives me a lot of freedom to imagine what would happen, like what our life is going to be like in 10 years or whatever. Yeah, there's like more freedom to actually look at what could happen without that tension and that needy place of me like wanting to know that. And I can see how I'm like freer in a way and I don't really need to know or I don't want to know. Mm. I can see how it gives me a lot of freedom in that moment
Yeah.
and to not be afraid. I think that's a big part of it too. Like being afraid of something bad is going to happen. So I don't have to be afraid without the thought. It'll be just whatever it's going to be without me trying to know it beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So, how would you turn the thought around? I want to know what's going to happen.
I don't want to know what's going to happen.
Okay, you were already starting to touch on that. So, see if you can find some examples of why you may not want to know what's going to happen, why that could be as true or maybe truer for you, even as you're thinking about the future.
Yeah, I think what I mentioned, like, it will just take the flavor out of life pretty much. If I know that I'm going to die like in 5 years or something, then I might die right now, like in my mind or whatever, to not do anything about what I want to do, or it'll be like a limit for me to know
Hmm.
that. So that wouldn't be good at all.
Yeah, I'm almost thinking it's like being on death row or something, right? You're gonna die at this time, and suddenly now it's almost impossible not to be thinking about that to some degree. The mind starts obsessing about it.
Hmm.
So what
I
else? What
don't
else is an example for you of how you may not want to know what's going to happen? Like that's one example with the death. How is it good or maybe even better not to know what's going to happen?
because there are a lot of surprises in life, some things that you didn't even expect to happen at all, that
Yeah.
makes you happy, and then you have great times. But if you knew that beforehand, it would be like, oh, okay, it wouldn't be as fun or like
Mm-hmm.
a surprise at all.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Take all
Yeah.
the spontaneity out of life and everything is all planned out and yeah, you have control, but where's the fun?
Yeah. It will get rid of all the fun for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how else is it a good thing to not know what's going to happen in the future?
Because I would miss out a lot of things that I don't even know yet, like something I may want to do, but then if I knew what's going to happen in the future, I may say, "Oh, I don't want to do that anymore because it's not going to serve me at all later on."
Exactly. And then you miss those experiences, and those experiences are sometimes what build one upon the other to get to a new, like to have a new experience. Or that's where, yeah, I think of, I had two other businesses before I came to this one, and it was like everything I learned from those experiences and some of them failures and everything, like it helped me with this one, and everything just keeps building like that. So if I knew it was going to happen, I would just say, "Oh, forget it. I'm not going to even try."
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any other reasons why not knowing what's going to happen could be serving you or helping you in any way?
Because I think it would help me do things I want to do, and also things I don't want to do that I can learn from, which is something I wouldn't do at all if I knew
Hmm.
beforehand.
That's
Yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Like sometimes I think my biggest learning comes from things that I would not do again. Like I call them mistakes. But I learned a lot there. And if I had the choice, I probably would have not gone there, but I probably wouldn't have learned that thing also.
Mm.
Interesting. Kind of gets into the idea of what is good and what is bad. And we try to avoid bad things and have good things, but sometimes the bad things are the good things and we forget that.
Yeah.
So I don't want to know what's going to happen. Any other examples for you of why this turnaround could be true?
I think also if looking at like outside of myself for a little bit, it would be annoying for everybody around me to know that I know everything that is going to happen. So it wouldn't be a good idea at all. And then we can just have like a normal relationship.
Right. They'd all be coming to you for predictions. And
Yeah,
there'd be, yeah.
that would be really crazy and really annoying.
Mhm.
Like you would know it all pretty much, and then that's not fun at all.
Yeah. I think it takes the spontaneity out of life. It takes we were saying, the fun out of it. It's like you already know everything. So what's the point? Um,
Yeah.
it can also make you very future oriented. You start thinking about the future more because you already see what's coming. And we already do that a lot anyway. I might be doing it more. And then trying to be ahead of myself. I might get frustrated with where I am because I know it should be up here coming up. Who knows? I'm just
Mm.
thinking, but yeah.
That's really interesting. It made me think about like what we usually do, which is living in the future and not the present at all. And like, but not wanting that, I get more chances of actually living here right now rather than trying to live in the whatever future I'm thinking of.
Right.
Oh.
Like maybe it's a good thing that you don't get any satisfaction about looking in the future so that you don't keep going there too much and you get satisfaction from being in the present so you can want to stay there more often. Yeah, so maybe the setup is good so it keeps you coming to where the good stuff is happening, which is here.
Yeah. And that way I don't even get lost because you could just stay living in the future so you never live your present. So,
Mhm. Mhm. Exactly. Not to mention all those complications that happen with, time travel and all that stuff, if you watch read the books on time travel, that kind of thing. It's like, okay, so if I do something in the future, I mean, this is probably too far out there, but the
yeah,
idea of like, if I'm too much in the future, then yeah, it gets complicated. Like,
it creates
because
a chaos because I'm trying to control my future with everything I'm doing right now. So moving a needle here and there, it's going to affect it. So I'll
right,
try to even be more controlling.
maybe, yeah, exactly, or anxious or all of that. So, hmm, interesting. So I don't want to know what's going to happen. It could be just as good, maybe even better in a way. And this is one of those turnarounds where you could sit for hours, days, years, and you might find a million more examples of how this could be just as true, that it's even better to not know what's going to happen. I'm almost thinking along those lines how the future is just a possibility from where we stand. It's just and there's so many different possibilities for the future. And so if the future was really, if you knew it all, then it would take all that possibility out of it. It would just be like walking down the same road or something. I don't know.
Mm.
Takes the wonder out of it a little bit. Anyway, I'm just brainstorming here, but cool work. Cool work. So, is there another turnaround before we close? I want to know what's going to happen.
I think one that I thought of is my mind wants to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And that one makes sense too. Because of course it's trying to control and like make sure it's prepared for everything. So it's trying to figure it out and find a solution for it, the magic solution for that.
Yeah.
problem. So he
Yeah.
keeps working on it.
It's a mind thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the heart doesn't care about that as much, and the mind really cares about trying to know the future, protect me, control. Yeah.
Right. And
So
then is where the frustration comes in, because like I'm used to trying to figure it out and find the solutions for it, but this one doesn't really have a solution. There's no way. so
nope.
so it's like the mind doesn't get it. It's like, no, I need to figure it out.
Yeah. It's impossible. Yeah. I see another possible turnaround too. I want to know what is happening right now.
Ooh, I like that one. And that makes total sense because I'm not seeing it at all. I'm just like trying to find out what the future is. So I'm missing out on everything that's happening right here.
Yeah. I
Right in
mean,
the
you're having
moment.
a walk with your wife, right? You're missing
Yeah.
out. You're separated out from your body almost, right? So, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to know
I'm
what's
kind of
happening.
kind of like time traveling to all those possible futures. So I'm right there testing it out, getting frustrated and kind of coming back and going to a different one.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not.
And there's so much to explore right now. There's so much richness right here that is real that you can have, that you can explore, and it's available. So I want to know what's going on right now because I can compared to the future, which I can't.
Mm, I love that one. Really good.
Me too. Great. Well, thank you.
Thank you very much, Todd. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.